Hi, welcome to the second video, which follows on our original video on how to do organisation design. This video concentrates on what are the different archetypes of org designs and when do you use them. The underlying philosophy is what's called contingency theory, and it says there is no one perfect organisation design. The appropriate or best fit organisation design for your organisation depends. It always depends. It depends on the size of the organisation, it depends on the nature of the organisation or the strategy of the organisation, and it depends on the risk aversion of the organisation. What we'll do is go through some of the key types of organisation designs and talk about when to use them. When you first start and you're a small startup with yourself and two friends in a garage, you're really not going to bother to have much of an org structure because you're all going to be doing whatever needs to be done. My Nous anecdote is when we started in Sydney with Nous, we only had 3 people, and I'm still famous for running downstairs and buying a hammer and a nail because we needed to put something up on the wall. In fact, there's probably still a hole in the wall from where I did that. As you get bigger, the standard organisation structure for a simple organisation with one product, generally one customer group and one geography, is what's called a functional structure. A functional structure is grouping people into the types of work they do. So you'd have a marketing and sales function, a logistics and operations function, potentially an R&D function, and then corporate services functions. When you have a single product, a single customer group, and a single geography, whether that geography is a city or a suburb or even a country, you're quite likely to have a functional structure by which people will be organised in the types of work they do. As you grow, often you'll begin to have a second customer group, or potentially a second or third or more products, or move into new geographies. Each of those requires thinking about what's our next step, and usually at this point you'll move to a divisional structure. Your divisional structure will be driven by that increase in strategy, in strategic breadth, which is the new product or the new customer or the new geography. And so what you'll have is a new divisional structure around the different products or around the different customer groups or around the different geographies. Finally, as organizations continue to grow and succeed, they end up finding they need to solve on multiple axes, so customer, product, and geography, and that's when the dreaded matrix structure has traditionally come into play. A matrix structure is one where you have a group of reports who are structured by, let's say, geography, and another group of reports who are structured by, for instance, product. And what you're trying to do is make sure that the product decisions are consistent globally, but also that the right geographic decisions are being made in each geographic market in which you work. Obviously, the problem with matrices is if you're not careful, people end up with 2 bosses, in this case, the geographic and the product boss. But usually well-run matrices clarify who has decision rights over which decisions between the 2 potential managers to whom the person reports. As organizations grow, sometimes you end up having to fit in 3 different axes, so customer, product, and geography. And if you end up with a 3-axis matrix, life is very painful. Moving on to newer models, there are a number of new models. Some academics argue they look very similar to the old models, but in general I think there are attributes of the models that are quite different. Probably the best known is the model introduced by Spotify but now used by a number of organizations around the world, which is called an agile structure. An agile structure is about grouping people into squads, generally of up to 8 people with a particular focus or area of responsibility. Squads are then grouped up into tribes, so a tribe might be all of the infrastructure, whereas the squad looks after a particular type of infrastructure. And people also then connect into chapters, which is other people who have the same capability set as they do. So it could be that all of the web designers are all a part of the web designer chapter. So if you've made it this far in the video, thanks for sticking with me. What we've discussed is different archetypes of organisation structures and when each might be appropriate. There is some debate in the academic literature about whether it's sort of a standard gradation and people move along that spectrum, or whether these are each discrete types of organisation structures that are appropriate for a particular type of organisation strategy. If you're interested in that debate, there's some excellent stuff by Henry Mintzberg and then some responses by one of the leading contingency theorists, Lex Donaldson, on the topic.